Hi, this is Mike with Raker Ag in Dyersville. Today we're going to talk about the basics of crop insurance. I'm going to try really hard to keep things simple. There's a lot of details that go into crop insurance and a lot we can help you with, but for this video I just want to give a high overview of how crop insurance works. So we're going to talk about yield history, how we establish what yield we start with, price discovery, what price we use for the guarantees, those guarantees with revenue and bushels, how a loss works if we have high yields, high price, low price, and important dates you'll need to remember for crop insurance. So we'll start with your yield history. We go up to 10 years of actual yields, or if you don't have any yields, we can use county yields, which are called T yields. They were 130 when I started back in 2006 in this business, and now they're all the way up to 190 bushels an acre for some counties. 189 I think is Delaware's, and bean yields are pretty solid as well. The share person yield would be another option. If you're farming on shares with someone, you could use their yields to get started. Here's an example of those 10 years of history. As you can see, we go each year and put in the yield, and after 10 years, we'll drop off, we'll add a new one. One thing I want to point out is our simple average here would be 212 over 10 years of data. Trend adjustment is a relatively new concept the last few years that adjusts your old yields to keep up with today's farming practices. So this farmer's trend adjusted yield would be 224. Beginning farmers, I made a separate video about that. If you have questions on that, check that out. But if you're able to crop share with someone or use their yields, you could use the amount you worked in their farm, maybe the last 4 years. In this case, is 238. So these last 4 years have been exceptionally good, and that would be a nice starting off point, a nice way to borrow that yield as opposed to using a 190 county yield. Price discovery, here's 2021. We set the price during February off the December 21 futures. And on soybeans, we use the November 21 futures during the month of February as also. So the average daily closes for all the trading days during February is how we set that price. Here's an example of 2012. We started with the 568 corn price during the month of February. And that same chart, we go out and come October, we had a price of 750. And I want to use that as an example later on. Just want to show you the February timestamp and the October timeframe of this December futures contract. That's how that's set. Here's another example. During February was 388. During October was 399. This is the December 2020 for the crop year last year. We started at 388. We got down to 320 on the futures, but we ended up being a 399. Soybean price discovery for 2019, we started at 954 and at 925. But if you look there, we got down to 825 on the futures. So a lot of times it's not the start and end price that matters. It's kind of the roller coaster we take in between. 2020, we had higher prices. Higher prices are always better. We're always better off having a good price for our product, having bushels. You want the yield, you want the revenue. Crop insurance is just a safety net like any program, but I want the bushels and I want the price every day. I want higher revenue than our 80 or 85%. So again, here's a summary. Looking back here, I did want to point out 06 and 05, when I started, 259 was the spring price, and when I was in college at Iowa State, 232 was the starting price. It's hard to get a very good guarantee with $2.32 corn. It's a lot more fun with 399, 601, 568, or even 450. Look at the last 4 or 5 years. We haven't been to 450 since 2014. So this could be an opportunity to have a really nice guarantee. Same thing on soybeans. 1150 looks pretty darn good compared to the last 4 or 5 starting years. So we have to go back to 2013 to get a price like this. Again, we won't know these prices till February, but at the end of February, we'll know the price and we'll know what the cost of the insurance is. So as far as the guaranteed revenue and bushels go, we start with a 200 bushel yield, for example, and we have a percent of coverage of 85% in this example. Gives us a guaranteed bushels of 170 bushels. Our price is $450 if that ends up being the February average for the month of December. We'll again know that on March 1st. Gives us a guarantee of $765. So we're guaranteed revenue and we're guaranteed bushels. No matter what, if you don't get 170 bushels or if you don't get 170 bushels times the fall price to get you to $765 total, we're going to guarantee both of those. That's something that I've got guys that have been buying insurance for years and still don't quite understand that concept. You get both. It's not a this or that, or if the price goes up, it hurts you. And I'll go through some examples here shortly. So here's a low price example. Same math. We have 200 bushels, 85%, 170 bushels, $4.50 corn price gives us $7.65 revenue guarantee. If we have a fall yield of 200 is the same average yield we used, and we have a fall price of $3.50 in this example, gives us $665 of revenue. So if our guarantee was $765, our fall revenue is now $665, there's a payment of $100. So I know I'm kind of oversimplifying this. I'm keeping it kind of simple, just trying to prove a point of how the program works with a low price in this example. So this is one way that revenue protection is valuable. You could have the same yield, but because our price ate up our deductible, we start getting paid because our price fell from $450 to $350 in this example, even though our yield did not fall at all. Another example is like a 2012 example, a low yield with potentially a high price. So our guarantee is the exact same, the 200, 170 bushel trigger. If you choose 85, you can choose 65 to 85%. There's a lot of options out there. We can go through those in detail, but just to give you an easy example here, gives us $765 of revenue. But let's say we are guaranteed the 170 and we have a fall price of $8, like in a 2012. Our guarantee actually goes up to $1,360. And why that's important is it'll help with our replacement costs. If we come in the fall and grow 100 bushels, we go out there and combine, and it's a 2012 drought, we only get 100 bushel in the combine. We got $8 fall revenue. We have a fall revenue of $800 per acre. So in the old days, we'd think, well, you got $800, we guaranteed you $765. There's probably going to be no payment because we have more revenue than guarantee. But you got to remember the replacement costs. We still guaranteed you this 170 bushels. We want to make sure you have 170 bushels. You might have been counting on that for feed. You might have sold that, a forward cash sale to an elevator. You need 170 bushels come October, and if you don't have it, we're going to replace it. I tell people all the time the replacement cost is like my house. It was built in the 1970s, probably cost $35,000 to build. If I had it burned down tomorrow, I would need well over $200,000 to replace that house because costs go up and, supply and demand, all those things. So this will work the same way. We're going to replace those at the present value. So our $1,300 guarantee comes down here. Our fall revenue comes down here. And we're actually going to pay you the difference from your guarantee to the fall revenue is $560 per acre. And what does $560 buy you? Well, if corn costs $8 in October, we're going to pay you $560 divided by the $8 is essentially 70 bushels worth of corn. That we're only going to pay you the $8 on the futures. If there's a narrow basis, wide basis, positive basis, that's not going to come into effect. We're going to pay $8, even if you can buy corn for $7 from a local farmer, or it might cost you $9. We always use the futures prices because we can't adjust for every local market. So I joke about the magic of crop insurance and how if you need the 170 bushels, we need to make sure you're guaranteed that. Well, if we give you a check that allows you to buy 70 bushels of corn, plus you grew 100 bushels that you were able to harvest, that means you get back to your 170 bushels total. The 70 that we pay you for, the 100 that you combined, gets you back to square one where we guaranteed you the 170 bushels. It makes you whole again. It gets you back to 170. So some important dates I want you to remember are March 15th to make changes to your policy. And we have until then to change levels. We can go from 80 to 85, for example. We can do unit structure changes. We can add other plans. We can add crops. A lot of guys have corn on their policy. They maybe didn't have beans, never planned to have soybeans, and now with rootworms and other things, they want to put some soybeans in. Your entity could change. Each year, we'll talk to you in March and say, did you incorporate? Did you change your marital status? Did you get married? Did you lose a spouse? We want to make sure everything matches FSA and it matches your taxes, your social security number, and whatnot. April 29th is another important date. We want to collect your production by then. We want to do that far before then. We can do that in November. Anytime you have your production, we can collect it. The deadline's technically April 29th. We do most of it far before March 15th to get that out of the way. The more data we have in there, the better job we can do of quoting. If we want to add databases, do added land, share changes, a lot of those things should be done by April 29th. It's a lot easier to do at that point. July 15th, we report acres. So you'll talk to FSA, you'll tell them when you planted it, how many acres on each field by the common land unit, and we'll go through the crop and the share as well. So all those decisions need to be done by that July 15th. So I know that was pretty brief, pretty quick. I always say there's no dumb questions. Ask any questions anytime. My email is raker.mike@gmail.com. We'll have other videos at rakerag.com. And my cell number is 319-480-7201. If you're looking at these basics and think, well, geez, I'm brand new to farming, Beginning Farmer video is a good one to watch. I just recorded that, and it talks about if you have less than 5 years of farming experience, you're a beginning farmer. So you may want to watch both of those. If you're more established, you probably don't need to watch that. If you have more than 5 years of farming, you do not qualify as a beginning farmer. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.